I failed early in life. I got into Obafemi Awolowo University in 2008 and I graduated in 2015. Selling is not even about talking. Most times it's about listening. So it's not a thing of saying, oh, because you're this personality type, you cannot do it, or because you're this personality type, you should do well at it. No, a sales professional is that person that says, I am into selling and this is what I want to do with my life. Selling is a mindset. Things like rejection is not personal. An average salesperson, the amount of rejection he gets in a day, some people might not get that amount of rejection in their lifetime. As a salesperson, you sell yourself first.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Expert and African, where I spotlight African tech specialists and the impact they are making in the African tech ecosystem. Today I have with me Chris Anaele. He's the growth manager at Leatherback, a fintech company focused on the African market. He'll be joining me to talk about his experience as a salesperson for the last 5 years and lessons he has learned, and also give useful insight for people that would love to consider a professional career in sales. So let's get into the conversation. I think we should start with debunking some things that some people think about sales. I think we should start with that. So what myths do people or misconceptions do people have about salespeople? Because you've been doing this for a while, and people would have told you that this is this and this, and you've proven them wrong or proven them right. I don't know. So let's talk about the misconceptions.
Well, one of the strongest one that gets to me a lot is when people confuse salespeople for marketing professionals, and this mistake comes from the fact that the bankers have people who go out to sell their product, people who sell financial product for them, telling people to open accounts. And these people naturally in Nigeria are called marketers, right? So when you speak to someone and you tell the person that what I do is I'm selling a product for my company or a service, my company's product or services, what they always think about is, oh, so you're a marketer, right? And if you understand that very well, you understand that sales is different from marketing, right? Marketing is creating awareness, putting the product in front of people, while sales is more concerned about closing the deals, right? Market generates the leads, bringing the people that say, oh, I like that product, and then sales goes ahead to have those conversations and make sure that those prospects or leads then become customers. That's one. Then two is the fact that people think everybody can do sales, especially professional selling. And that's why in Nigeria, and I must be very blunt here, salespeople are very looked down on. So you are part of a company and you're doing your best in that company. They look down on you and feel, oh, even if you go, someone else can come and take the job, right? And most times it's not always like that, right? Yes, you can get someone to do the job, but that person might not do it as well as that other sales professional would have been able to do it, right? And that's the difference. And it also goes beyond just bringing in customers. It also transcends making sure that those customers get the full product or service that was promised to them, and also making sure that you keep the relationship with them and then bring them back to the business in terms of them buying again or using your service again and all of that. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, so you mentioned something about selling professionally. Is there any other part to selling that is not professional?
Well, we all sell. If you're asking a lady out, you're selling yourself to her.
Word.
Right. If you're trying to convince your child to do a particular thing instead of another thing, you're selling to him. So we are all salespeople, but taking selling as a profession means that you are saying this is a career path I want to pursue, right? It means you are looking at sales, not just doing it in the everyday light of it, but you're looking at it and saying, this is a way I want to make a living, right? What I want to make a career out of is selling product and services for companies, right? You could also be a CEO, right? You are running your own business and you're selling, but that doesn't make you a sales professional, right? A sales professional is that person that says, I am into selling, and this is what I want to do with my life. This is what I want to do in my career, right? And that makes you go learn and take courses and read books and do anything you need to do, right, to get better in that line, right? For a CEO that is selling his product and service, he might not need to go out there to do all of the things he needs to do to become very good at selling, because at a point he probably will want to delegate that, right, to someone else. Yeah. But as a sales professional, this is what I want to do, and there are lots of them. Contrary to the opinion of people thinking there are not lots of salespeople, all you need to do is go on LinkedIn. And then selling is a profession that, and that's why you can ask this question, because at the bottom is anybody can become a salesperson, right? But to then become very good at selling, right, you need to really put yourself into learning that selling is not just an act, but it's also a science, right? There are processes to it, and then you can also bring your individuality to it at the same time. Yeah.
Talking about individuality, well, I must say that selling, as you've explained it now, is not sweet to me. It's kind of hard. But talking about individuality, so looking at your own life and say experiences and let's say interest, what convinced you that sales is something that is good for you?
Well, I did not get into sales by choice. It's not like I came out of the university and I was looking for a job and I said, oh, I need to get a sales job. So I finished my university in my late 20s. By the time I was done, right, tech was not what it is now, where even people in the university are talking about tech and all of that. So I didn't know there was a tech ecosystem and all of that, right? I just came out of school and I needed a job. I was in my late 20s, and I'm going to say this here, I didn't come out very well result-wise in school. So by the time I finished, it was, what kind of job could I have gotten, right? I couldn't apply for any graduate trainee, because we know that most of those graduate trainees have age brackets, not more than 28 and all of that. So in 2016, I was a PA to someone. His name is Boyo Shinaga, right? I was his PA. At that point, he was a vice president at VGG. VGG is Venture Gardens Group, right? And I was his personal assistant. And after that job for a year, I went for my service in 2017. By the time I came out in 2018, he got me an interview with two companies. One is Ribi Finance, and the second one is Schools Compass. I interviewed with these two companies, and fortunately or unfortunately, the role that they wanted to give to me was sales roles. So yeah, I finally chose Schools Compass. When I got into the job, for the first 2 weeks, I didn't know what it was about, right? I just know, okay, I have a job. They're paying me salary. Okay, cool. How do I move forward from here, right? I still remember vividly well. One day, my boss at Schools Compass came in and saw me sleeping, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what selling was about, right? Yeah, and I was sleeping, and he said, he spoke it in Yoruba. He said something like, "Is this the person I employed? What is this one doing here?" Right? And that dawned on me that if I continued that way, right, I was going to lose that job, and I didn't want to lose that job at all. So this same person I was PA to, Boyo Shinaga. He gave me the first sales book I read, Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. And then after I read that book, one thing that book did for me was build my mindset, right? In that book, he didn't just delve into saying, oh, these are the techniques for sales. He first tells you that selling is a mindset, right? Mindset, things like rejection is not personal, that someone tells you no on a product, or you even had a meeting with someone and they sound all interested, and then they ghost you, not picking your call, not replying your email. It's not personal. It could be 1,000,001 thing. And if you do not take it that way, right, you can then get very emotional about it and not do your work very well. So when I started, I read that book. It helped me. From that book, I bought another one called Advanced Selling Strategy by Brian Tracy, the same author. And then I read that. And then I started taking courses on LinkedIn, right? Thankfully, then I think LinkedIn did a promotion where, and they still do it now, where they give you a 1 month free. You can subscribe for free for 1 month. After that 1 month, they start charging you. So the premium I chose was for LinkedIn Learning. If you go on my LinkedIn page, you go down there, you still see some of the course I took on handling objection, cold emailing, cold calling, and all of that. So it wasn't by design that I said, oh, I want to go into sales. But when I found myself there, I just discovered that I had to do the best of it. But the more I learned it, the more I liked it. And then we are here today, yeah.
Cool. Well, many of us found ourselves where we didn't plan, and we had to, fall into it. If you are going to take a wide guess, what did you think your employer saw in you? They just come and work, and they decided to push you into sales.
Well, number one, I think I'm a likable person. Wherever I go to, I easily make friends. I can easily approach someone and speak to them. Also, I remember a lot of employers have said this to me, that they see my passion, right? I can say I'm one person that whatever I'm doing, right, I would like to give it my best. I would like to put everything in me in it, even if I don't know it at first. But I believe by doing it that way and putting all myself and all of me in it, it will help me to learn and become better at it, right? That's one thing I've heard a lot. I remember the first job, I went to a meeting to see a school owner with my boss then, Mr. Yomi Ojo, the CEO of Schools Compass. And when we came back from the meeting, he spoke to Boye, and Boye came back and told me, and he said, he likes you. I said, oh, what did he say? He said, he likes your energy. He likes your energy a lot. He likes the fact that you are taking this thing very, very seriously, right? Even though at that point I didn't even know what I was doing. But that is one thing I've heard a lot, right? And that's one thing even Boye himself, when I was PA to him, told me, he said, this zeal and enthusiasm that you bring into the job, don't ever lose it, right? And I've tried to keep that ever since, yeah.
Cool. Passion. Well, would you now say that your passion is the one putting food on your table?
Yeah.
Or you're just trying to not go hungry? Because
I for one, I believe that I don't think I found, like I said, I stumbled into sales. It's not like I predetermined that was what I was going to do, right? So I wouldn't say I was passionate about it from the beginning. One thing I can say is, if it wasn't sales I was doing today, if it was, say, carpentry, maybe I would also be very passionate about it. I've seen that in most things that I do, right? Taking that passion. People talk about find what your passion is and then do it. I'm not of that opinion. I'm of the opinion that whatever you do, whatever your hand finds to do it well. Put your best into it. Put your passion into it. And what is passion is not really that thing consuming you totally, as it were, but it's where that's what you're thinking about. If I leave my office and I go home, right, I'm doing something else, but I'm thinking about a client and what he said and what I could have said better and all of those kind of things. It makes me passionate about the job. It makes me want to do more, right? That's what I believe passion is. And I might be wrong, right? But that's the belief I have about it right now. I don't think there's something I look at and say, oh, I'm very passionate about this thing. Yes, one thing I'm passionate about is making money. Right now, I can tell you I love making money. Not for me, but for also the organizations I work with. Because I believe that money is the lifeline of any business, right? If a business makes money, no matter how hard every other thing is, they still will be able to survive and innovate their way out of. But even if you're innovative and you do everything and there's no money, right, you die as a business. So in terms of saying, is sales my passion? I really don't think it is. But doing business, satisfying customers, making money for the companies I work with, or if I own my own one day, it's what is the passion for me, right? That's the drive. Yes, I'm also passionate about Nigeria. I love Nigeria a lot, right? And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to, like, if you want to look at back at your experience, maybe growing up or while you were in school or anywhere you found yourself, what are some of the experiences that you've had, either negative or positive, that are part of your drive today?
Okay. Should I be saying this in a podcast? But yeah, the experience that I had is I didn't grow up with my mom. My mom left when my mom and my dad separated when I was about 3 months, right? So I didn't grow up with my mom. Yes, I had the opportunity to be with my grandmom for, I think, 3 or 4 years before she died, right? So I lived with family members, right? Growing up, I never had that person who I would say, if I had challenges, this is the person I would go to talk to, or to say these are the things I'm going through, and then confide in them. I always had to solve that problem myself, right? And then it built into me that ability, that resilience to say, as I'm facing problem, it's just me and me alone. No? I have to find a way to solve this problem, right? So yeah, that's one thing from my childhood I can say has really, really impacted me at the moment in my life. And also not being afraid of failure. And this is a function of the fact that I failed early in life. I got into Obafemi Awolowo University in 2008, and I graduated in 2015. If you calculate that, you see that.
You study medicine?
No, I wasn't. So I got into OAU to study mathematics. Yellow House, if you're an OAU person or you attended OAU, you know the department I'm talking about, right? But when I was going into my 300 level, I had to transfer because my results were not good. I wasn't doing well. I wasn't coping there. So I transferred to psychology. It was very difficult because for you to transfer to another department in Obafemi Awolowo University, you have to carry lots of files to lots of offices to sign, and you have to greet them, and you have to be very polite and all of that. And it took me an entire year before I was able to transfer, but I did, and I'm happy I did, right? So yeah, that's another thing, because that particular failure experience then made me realize that failure is just something you can learn from, right? Because I really, really learned from it. It showed me what my strengths were. It actually built a kind of resilience in me that when I then got into the workforce, I wanted to do more. I wanted to give myself more, because I felt like I had this feeling of I had lost time, right? The people I got into school with in 2018, they all graduated in 2012. And I graduated in 2015. That's 3 years, right? So I wanted to do more and see how fast I can go, right? So yeah, those are the two things I can say have impacted my life so far.
Thanks for sharing that, Chris. So I want us to go back to selling, right? When you started as a professional salesperson. Now, at what point did you become a professional salesperson?
Yeah, well, after I left Schools Compass, at Schools Compass, I wouldn't call myself a professional salesperson. I was just doing it to survive. But then I started reading books, and then I attended a sales conference organized by Mr. Bumi Jembola, the CEO of Sales Ruby. I attended that sales conference, and I saw lots of salespeople. I even saw someone from MTN who came, I've forgotten his name. He came to give a talk that day, and then they were breaking down sales, and it really made sense to me. In my head, I'm like, oh, so this is not trial by luck. This is not just try your luck and then you get a result. There is a process to this thing, right? So when I left Schools Compass, I went and worked with Mr. Bumi Jembola. And that decision, even though it was the same pay, I did that for 4 months because I wanted to learn from him. He's a very super sales guy, right? Really good at what he does. So that 4 months, I only spent 4 months in the company, but that 4 months was really, really important for me. And then when I left, I joined Seamless HR. That was where I would say I learned most of the things that I know now, because from Schools Compass to Sales Ruby, at Schools Compass, it was inbound leads. All I needed to do was look at our database with criteria and say which schools can subscribe to this, to what we're doing, and then I reach out to them. Their phone numbers were there, their emails were there, so it was easier, right? With Sales Ruby, Mr. Bumi already had lots of network, so all he did was pass those people to us, and then we sell. But when I got to Seamless HR, I worked with a sales manager. His name is Chidi Oji, right? Chidi was really amazing. That was where I learned the act of cold emailing, cold outreach. And that was then what I learned a lot before. When I came to TechPoint, I was able to practicalize it and then put in processes before I left here.
What does it mean to sell digital products and tangible products? Yeah, is there like difficulty level to it when it comes to selling professionally?
Well, one thing you have to understand is when you're selling any product or service, whether digital or a tangible product, is people do not really buy the product. They buy what the product can do for them, right? If I buy a car, there are two reasons I can buy a car for. One is for it to be able to move me from one place to another. There are other products I can buy that can move me from one place to another. The second is luxury. So that's why if what I was just looking for is buy a car that can move me from one place to another, the range of a car I can just buy one normal car and I'm good, right? But if I'm looking at prestige, luxury, then I'm talking about buying top range cars, right? And that is what you need to really figure out. The first question is what I am selling, whether it's digital product, whether it's a tangible product, what is it going to do for the final user, right? If you can figure that out, that is what you should be selling. So it's not about what it is, it's about what can it do for that person, right? It could be an individual, it could be an organization. If it's an organization, you're asking yourself that this product or this service, what can it do for the organization, one? And the person who is going to use it in the organization, what is he going to do for that person, right? Say you're selling a product that is targeted to heads of marketing, right? For the organization, you talked about a digital product. For the organization, it could be a product that gives them visibility, right? For the marketing manager, what does the product do for them? What it does for them is that if it gives the organization visibility, there are other things that are aligned in that, where if that visibility generates leads, right, is good for them, because in the organization, they are looking at them like, oh yeah, you did a very great job, right? So that's the first thing to think about. You're not thinking about just the physical product itself. You're thinking about, this my product. Who are the people? What can it do for the final user? And when you discover that, who are those users? First, who are those users, and what can it do for those users? And that is what you should be selling. So if you are on this premise, then you should understand that all products are the same. All you just need is to keep finding out what is the product about. Product knowledge is really, really key in selling. You cannot sell what you do not know. So if you understand the product to that point, maybe when you start out new, you might not know. But you need to keep asking questions. You need to keep doing research. Except the product you're selling is novel, as it were. It has not been sold before. I'm sure if you go online and you do some research and you ask what does so and so product do for so and so persons, right? You should see some results there that when you read up on them, you should have an idea of what that particular product or service will do for that individual or company. So it's not about the product itself, it's about the final outcome. Yeah.
Cool. So I want to ask this question. So is there like, you know, when you're when a teacher is teaching you something, he says step 1 do this, step 2 do this, step 3 do this. So when you master it, then you start inflecting.
Correct.
Then you start including your. So is there something like that in sales? Like, this is the first thing you should do, this is the next thing you should do, this is the next thing you should do for a starter. So by the time you are able to know all these things by heart, then you start adding your own uniqueness to it. Is there something like that in selling?
Yes, it's called the sales process, right? Okay. It's just the same way the cakes you used to give to us those days, remember, right? You remember when you started, you made the first ones, they didn't come out very well. It could be that in that recipe, there's something you didn't add or something you removed or thereabout. And then when you got the recipe, you continued that way, right? It doesn't mean you can't tweak something here and there, but you know what that process is, right? That is what selling is. So first, you must come up with a sales process. What is my sales process? The sales process could be that the first thing is I need to reach out to clients, right? If you are new in an industry, you do not know anybody. Just like when I joined Leatherback, I didn't know a lot of people in that industry, right? You start with cold emailing, right? That could be a process, right? In your cold emailing, a lot of people made the mistake of trying to sell in the body of the mail, right? That's like you trying to put everything of the cake in at once, right? But your cold email should prompt something, the next process. What's the next process? You want to invite this person or this team to a meeting, where in that meeting, you then try to ask them good questions to find out what their problem is and how they are using, because yes, you're trying to solve a problem for them, but it doesn't mean they are not solving that problem already. What you're trying to say is I have a better, more efficient way for you to solve this problem, right? So you want to understand where they are and what the gaps are so that you can then know how to then plug in, right? After that, in your process, is the next thing is for you to do, and I'm not saying this is a defined process. No, I'm just giving you an example of one process, and you could come up with your own process in different ways, right? But I know that the first thing is you have to reach out to someone. If you do not reach out to someone, you cannot sell to them. And I always discourage people from selling on
their cold email.
Yeah, through the cold email. Invite those guys, the person you want to speak with, to a meeting, and then in that meeting you want to have more conversation to discover their needs. If the next thing in your process is presentation, you can do your presentation. If in that presentation you can do a how-to, a demo to show them how the product works and all of that, then that could be it. The next process could then be that you then tell them this is the cost, and then you guys negotiate. After that, it could be that you do all of the paperwork and then you deliver the product, right? The process might not end there. The process can still be that you have it in your process that after 2 weeks, you give them a call and say, oh, how is that product? How is that product going? How are you using it? Is it serving you well, right? The process might not end there. It can also include to the point of you then asking for referrals, right? So yes, there is a process, and that's why selling is a science and is an art, right? The science aspect of it is where it has process, and you have to, when you build your first process, you have to keep tweaking it till you look at it and say, oh, this is very good enough, right? And while you are doing that process, you are also putting an eye on the sales cycle. And what that means is how long does it take to close a particular deal and even a particular kind of client, right? You do not want to set an expectation of saying, I'll close this client in 2 weeks, while when you go through the entire process, you discover that it takes a month to close such a client, right? So you want to keep looking at those things and then asking yourself, how do I tweak my process to reduce my sales cycle, to bring it closer? Yes, there's a point you can get to where you probably might not be able to get it close, to bring it closer, but you want to keep thinking about that and saying, how do I make this process better? But yes, there's a process to selling. A lot of people think it's you just meet a client and then you start talking and you tell them about the product and you say everything and then they buy. No, it's a process. And if you understand that process very well, you will not jump to the second level of the process until you're good enough with the first, right? What that means is I will not jump to presenting if I've not done a thorough job in asking good open-ended questions to understand the needs of my customer, right? I will not jump to negotiation if I've not presented well enough for the customer to say, oh yes, this is the product I want. Yes. So that is how those kind of the process in sales works.
So yeah, you moved from edtech, yeah, and moved to what does Sales Ruby do?
Sales Ruby is a sales training and consulting firm. Yeah.
Okay, so you moved to training and consulting. Then you moved to HR. Then you moved to media. Now you are in fintech. Is it that if you are able to act sale in a place, you can do sale in every other place?
Well, the basic principles of selling is the same across the board.
Okay.
Right? But for any industry you go into, you need to, or any organization you go into, you need to, one, learn the industry, the language of the industry, what obtains in the industry, right? And you also need to learn your product. Let me give you an instance. When I got into fintech, there were words I didn't know, right? Till now I still disturb a lot of my colleagues, right? Someone used a word yesterday, and an acronym yesterday, that someone who has been in the financial industry should understand, but I didn't, right? I'm not afraid to ask questions. So I asked, I was like, what's the meaning of that? And then they tell me, right? So selling, the basic principles are the same, but for any industry you go to, you need to learn the industry and you also need to learn the product. Yes.
Yeah. So if I want to ask, can anyone become a sales professional? There are some people you should want to tell that, don't bother. Or anyone can say they want to become a sales professional and go for it. Or I'm saying this because sometimes when some recruiters want to hire you, they will do like a personality test for you. And they'll be like, okay, so personality does not fit. So there's some personality that don't fit for sales. Or anyone can just say they want to become sales professionals?
From my experience, anybody can be a sales professional, right? A lot of people, when they see me and when they meet me and we have a conversation and I say I'm into sales and they see the fact that I'm extroverted, like I like to meet people, they're like, oh yeah, you can talk, so you should be a salesperson. But selling is not even about talking. Most times it's about listening, right? Because that ability to listen to your customers, to find out what their real needs is. And this is even an attribute that comes with most introverts, right? That ability to stay quiet and listen, right? So it's not a thing of saying, oh, because you're this personality type, you cannot do it, or because you're this personality type, you should do well at it. No, it's all about wanting to do it and learning and doing the things that you need to do it, right? Let me give you an instance. I used to be very extremely extroverted, right? Where if you keep only me in this room and I stay here for, say, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and there's no other person here, I'll start looking for human interaction. But I had to teach myself to become more introverted because I needed that introversion for learning. I needed it to be able to stay on my own and read, to be able to stay on my own and do those things that I cannot do if people were there, right? So even if you're introverted, right, you can do the part of sales that seemingly looks like it's only extroverts that can do it. All you need to do is learn it and become better at it. And thank God for the internet, YouTube, and any other resource out there. You can learn anything, right? So yeah, I personally, and I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, please let me know, right? But I do not think it's a thing of a personality type. It's a thing of, do you really want to do it? And if yes, are you ready to put in the work and get to learn the things you need to learn to get it done? Yeah.
Noted. I still don't want to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
So, what is like the hard part of selling, and what's like the, I don't want to say simplest part, but not so hard part of selling?
So the simplest part is the fact that anybody can get a sales job today, right? If you go on most of the job websites, sales, business development roles are very plentiful, if that word is correct, right? So anybody can get into sales. The hard part of it is, how do you deal with the day-to-day that comes with it, the rejections. So there's this saying that an average salesperson, the amount of rejection he gets in a day, that some people might not get that amount of rejection in their lifetime. And it's not a lie, right? So how do you handle that? I remember when I was at Tech Point, when we were working remote and we were in Ife, right? And I was selling one of the events that we had then. I remember I used to be very downcast, right? You sell to someone and the person in the meeting sounded very well and looks like they will come on board the next day. And then you start calling them and you start sending them mails. And for the next 1-2 weeks, they won't say anything to you. They will just, the word goes to you, right? How do you handle that, right? How do you make sure that that doesn't affect you? How do you make sure that if it happens today, you push it back and tomorrow you are up and doing what you need to do again? And then how do you also make sure that you do not get resentful at these people who seemingly reject your offer, right? And understand that it's not personal. It's not like they are rejecting me, Christopher. There are lots of situations. It could be that they don't have the money. And one thing you should also learn is a lot of people would prefer to run away from you than tell you no, right? No is the best answer you want to hear. The first best answer is yes. The second best is no. So that at least you can keep that aside and then move ahead, right? So it could be a lot of reasons. And if you do not get resentful, where because you do not get resentful, you are able to have conversations, you are still able to reach out to that person. Whenever you meet the person, you do not guilt trip them. One word I like using a lot is, if I call you and you do not pick your call, if I'm sending you a message after that call, I'm saying something like, I guess you were busy and that's why you cannot pick your call, right? That way, I'm trying to get you away from that guilt of feeling that, oh, I didn't pick his call, so that when next you see my call, you run away. No, you already know that I don't mind. I know you're busy. I know you have other things going on in your life, right? My product is not the only thing you're focused on, right? How do you handle those? If you can handle that very well, trust me, you'll be able to keep moving. And if you ask people who have tried to do sales or who tell you that they really don't want to do sales, you discover that that's the part they are talking about. Another hard part is sales. In a sales role, it's easy to judge if you're doing well or not, right? It's that simple. How much did you bring in? How many clients did you bring in, right? How much did those clients bring in? And it's very, very simple. And because it's easy to judge, and it's also something that is very important to organizations, it comes with lots of pressure, right? There are targets, and you have to meet those targets. If you don't meet them, your CEO or your manager is on your case. If you're lucky, you have a very good person that is your manager or your CEO. That conversation might turn out in a better way. But if you're not lucky, you might get rammed into, right? So how do you handle all of this? You're handling the pressure of customers rejecting you, right? And you're also handling the pressure of your own organization putting pressure on you to deliver, right? So that's the hard part. But the easiest part is, if I leave Leatherback today, I can get another sales job. It might not be of the same enumeration in terms of pay and all of that, but I can get another sales job, I can continue and keep moving, right? That's the easiest part. Anybody can get into sales, but how do you then make sure that it's a career that you continue in, and then apart from then selling, maybe adding other things to it where you are then able to grow as a business person. Yeah.
So with all this pressure that comes with selling and all the no's and rejections, how do you personally manage it?
Well, like I said, I believe that is first inside out, right? Mindsets are very, very important, right? How you see a situation in your mind can help you handle it, right? Just like I said earlier, rejections are not personal. And I learned this earlier on, right? And that helps me. Someone rejects my offer to sell them a product, I'm good, right? I understand that it's not me, Christopher, that they are rejecting. So I move on with my life. I see the person tomorrow, I'll still greet them. Hey, boss, how you doing? And all of that. We can have very good conversation because I totally understand that there are other reasons why this person, yes, if I have the opportunity to ask for those reasons, I will, because I really want to know. Because sometimes the reasons could be something you yourself did, right? Or something you said, or even because your competitor is offering something better. So it's always good to want to know. So if you know, right, one thing I've always done as a salesperson is after a month of selling, I call two sets of people, the people who bought and the people who didn't buy. The people who bought, I'm asking them, why did you buy from me? Why did you buy from my company? Because we are not the only one selling this particular product, right? Yeah. Or the only one selling a product that can satisfy these needs, right? This need. So why did you buy from us? If that person, if you're open enough to ask that question sincerely, you'll be shocked that people will open up to you and let you know that this is the real reason I bought. Also with the people who didn't buy, you want to also ask that question. Yes, at first, they will dilly-dally and say things that might not be the real reasons. But you want to show them that you're sincere enough. You're not asking them this question because you want to guilt trip them, as it were. But you're asking this question. One thing I will always say is, please, I would like to know because I would like to get better for my customers and potential customers, right? If you ask that question well enough and you're persistent at asking it, and you can show that you're really genuine in the question you're asking, they will let you know, right? And that can then help you get better. So yeah, how I handle it, most times when people reject me, if I'm somewhere I can go and sleep, I just go and sleep, right? I take a nap, and then when I wake up, I'm good, and then I continue, right? And then one thing that has helped me at least now is the fact that it's something I've done for a while. So I know that there will be people who will reject you, and there are people who will say yes, right? There are sales that will be very difficult that you won't get, and there are ones that they will come so easy that you wonder, like, what did I even do, right? I remember at School's Compass, I went to a school to sell to a principal, a school owner, and I got there. The meeting only lasted for 5 minutes. I got there, she said, School's Compass, yes? I said, yes. She said, how much is that thing again? I called the amount, she wrote the check and gave to me, and I left. While going home, I was wondering, like, what just happened, right? And it can get that easy. But one thing you always want to know is, no matter how hard it gets, do not take it personal, especially with the job, right? Do not take those rejection or the pressure that your people are putting on you personal, right? It comes with the job, especially if you're working in a place where you as a salesperson is being appreciated, because that's one thing I see in the ecosystem where people really, really look down on salespeople. They do not believe that they are worth the reward that they should be given, right? So they feel, oh, what are you doing? Someone else can do it, right? So if you're somewhere that you're well appreciated and you understand that you're well appreciated, right, you shouldn't take those things personal. You should always think that this is for the betterment of the organization, right? And then always keen to that. For me, right, I don't take rejection personal. I sell the product to you, you say no, I move on, right? It doesn't mean I won't come back to you again. Because I'm not resentful means I can come back to you again and again and again. I've chased a client for 6 months before I close them. I've chased one for a year before I close them, right? So because I wasn't resentful the first time that they ghosted me, as it were, after a while I'll still go back and say, hello, this is what we are doing now. Are you interested? And then we can start that conversation all over again. So yeah, it's not taking it personal, just understanding that it's business, right? These people are not rejecting you, as it were. It's just the situation, yeah.
There's this thing that came to my mind now. You know, companies that have bad products, you know, they still have salespeople.
Correct.
Is there like, is there? I don't know if you sold a bad product before. I don't know. So, but is there something that a salesperson that finds themselves in a situation where the product is bad, what should they do? They have to work, but they have to sell it. I think this is the part where they say salespeople are liars because you are selling a bad product, but you still want me to buy it. So is there like something, if you are going to advise a salesperson that find themselves in a company that their product is bad and they have to sell it, how would you advise they handle it?
So first, what's a bad product, right? A bad product is a product that does not do what it says it will do, right? So let's use a car for an instance. A bad product as a car is a car that, as you're selling it to the person, you're telling the person that the car will move you from point A to point B. But after the person purchases the car is not able to move them from point A to point B, right? One thing I learned earlier in my career is not to sell bobo, right? If you're Nigerian, you understand what that means. Not to sell lies, right? The sales career is a long career. All of our professional careers are long careers, right? You can do what you're doing, whether you switch or you're doing the same thing for 20, 30 years. And if you're a long-term thinker, you realize that if you lie to someone and you sell a bad product to them, a product that cannot deliver what you're saying it can deliver to them for an organization, what then happens when you leave that organization and that person also leaves that other organization? If the person meets you in future, they've already seen you as someone that lies, right? There's nothing you want to tell them at that point that they want to hear. And you could lose a hundred of millions of dollars worth of deal just because you sold a bad product, which is a lie, that is worth just a couple of thousands, right? So that's the first premise. Just tell yourself that I'm not going to sell bobo. For every organization where you join, if there is a product, it means there is something at least that product can do.
That is what you should focus on.
Correct. There's something that product can do. Do not fall into that trap. And I've been in that situation where you'll be put pressure on to say, now there's a difference between, say you're selling a tech product, a tech product, right? Where you're telling a potential buyer and you're saying, oh, we are working on so and so feature and it will come out by so and so. That's different from lies, right? If truly that thing is being worked on by your team, yes, you can pitch it, you can talk about it, right? Or if it's something you know you have a team that if you promise that you can go back and say, guys, let's work on this thing, and they will listen to you, then by all means go ahead. But do not deliberately lie to people. Do not tell them that you have one gbogbo reshape product that can heal the sick, raise the dead, and make everything fine in their life. Because the truth is, they will find out, right? After you've sold and you've gone, they will find out. When they find out, what then happens?
You go to jail.
Well, going to jail is the extreme part of it, but even if you don't go to jail.
Is in jail. That lady. So she told them that thing can do a lot of things, but here we are.
Great. So you do not want to do that. So if you find yourself where the product doesn't solve any problem and all they are saying is just go and sell, just go, please find your way out, right? Because that is a killer. At the end of the day, the truth is this: if you do that, you are not even going to be the highest beneficiary of that lie that you just lied, right? You only be paid a salary or even a commission, right? You're not the highest beneficiary, right? When the person you sold a bad product is looking at someone, it's not the company they will remember, it's you. There is a popular balance in selling that says, as a salesperson, you sell yourself first before you sell your product, right? So if you're selling yourself first before you sell your product, and all you did was sell lies, you've also sold lies about yourself, right? And this has helped me a lot, because I've gone from a company to another company where I was selling a different product to that particular customer in one company, and then I moved to a different industry entirely, and I was able to bring that same customer on board, right? If I had sold Bobo to them in that first place, I would never be able to do this other one. So that is one thing, is long-term thinking. I realize that is a long career. You do not want to start off lying to people and telling them that your product can do what it cannot do. So my advice is, if you find yourself in such company where they are putting pressure on you to lie and tell lies and say things that the product cannot do, or things that they do not even have in their roadmap to build, as it were, please find your way out, right? Yes, you're trying to make a living now. You're afraid that, what if I leave? What will happen? Will I get another job and all of that? But if you continue there and you sell lies, you collect little money now and you destroy a future that probably might have been bigger money, right? So that's what I personally would do if I find myself in that kind of situation.
Sounds fair. It's smart, because you have to think long term when it comes to career. So how many years have you used selling now?
So I started in 2018, January 2018 to be precise. So
yeah, 5 years into
yes,
it.
yeah. This year is my 6th year. Yeah.
So going by how much you've experienced, what do you think are like the worst practice in the sales industry that you think should not be, but are kind of embraced?
Well, number one is getting salespeople, giving them crazy target, but your rewards do not reflect that target, right? One thing I've learned is, I won't call it greed. I won't say the average salesperson is greedy. No, but I will say the average salesperson is driven by not just what they can do for you, but also what they can do for themselves, right? Smart CEOs, smart organizations understand this, so they feed off that. So they are saying, oh, don't worry, go and get us 100 million. We're going to give you, let's say, 2.5%, 5%, 10%, whatever that percentage is. And then when it happens, they give you your money. They are satisfied with the other one that they got, right, than not getting anything at all if you were not there, right? So that is one thing I've seen. I saw an advert from a company, I won't mention name, right, that they were looking for salespeople that will come, a salesperson that they will pay 100,000, and the target,
Naira.
Yes, 100,000 naira, and the target they had was, I think, 30 million, right? That is a steal, right? Because
but if the salesperson is not steal your client and go to another place,
that's a steal, right? A lot of people, you have salespeople, and you're asking yourself, why are they not doing well? Why are they not doing well? Feed off their greed, right? Someone is going to make you hundreds of millions of naira, and you don't even want to give them commission on that, and you want to just pay them salary, right? Sometimes it can make the person not motivated enough to run through the wall, right? But if you feed off that and you're saying, go and make me 100 million, right? I'll give you 5 million from that. You'll be shocked at how far that person will go to go and make that money for you, because they believe that as they're making the money for you, they are also getting something in return. So that's the practice I've seen, right? That most, especially in the tech space, most of the companies do not really know how to enumerate salespeople, right? if you Google selling and sales enumeration all around the world, there is a reason why the word commission is there, right? There are salespeople that are purely commission based, where there's no base salary, all they make is commission. There are ones that have base salary and commission. But one thing I would never really advise, well, there are people who are doing it and probably works for them, is if you want top line salespeople, right, and you want them to stay with you, right, do not just do salary. Because if you do salary, I'll give you an instance. It can happen where, because it's salary, and I know selling is month on month, you are judging me month on month. I could have brought in a client this month, right? I know could have probably made me hit 100 million, right? I can not even consciously dilly-dally and then bring them in next month, because you're still going to pay me salary, right? But if it was commission and I wanted that money this month, I'll do everything I need to do to bring that person in this month. So that's one thing I see. The enumeration is really poor, right? A lot of people want to pay meager money and then tax you to go and get very big amount of money.
So as a salesperson, how does a typical day look for you currently at your workplace?
Oh, okay. So when I get to work, the first thing I do is follow-ups. Follow-up in the sense that their clients have been talking to already, right? That there is one thing pending or another for them to complete their onboarding on the platform. I want to follow up with those guys, right? Those are the first thing I do, either through phone. If I call, they don't pick, I'm sending messages, maybe drop a message on WhatsApp, an email. If I need to go to their office, I'm going there, right? And then every day you also want to prospect. Prospecting is trying to get new leads, trying to get new people. And how are you prospecting? It depends on what your prospecting technique is. Is it cold call? Is it cold email? Is it referrals? Whatever it is. And then a lot of people don't see learning as part of their daily work, right? So every day I want to learn something. It could be learning more about my product, where I'm logged into my demo platform, and I'm able to do some things on the product and say, okay, what if I click this button, what happens? I'm learning the product more. It could be that I'm reading documents that are produced by other departments. Let's say the compliance department at Leatherback, right? I'm reading those documents to understand more what the compliance department does and how it feed off my work, right? The operations department. So that is how my day-to-day goes, right? Is a function, is a day that goes with follow-ups, try to reach new people, and then learning, right? And also working with our marketing team to see how we can put ourselves out there.
Yeah, there's this question. I think I know the answer already, but I don't want to preempt you. What's like for you? What's like the best part of selling?
He's making money.
Okay, got it. Got it.
He's making money, right? And like I said earlier, it's not just for myself, but for the business, right? Because I super understand that money is the lifeblood of any business. It's easy to, well, not easy to raise funds, but that you raise funds, right, doesn't mean that your business is thriving, right? You raise investment, yeah, but the major thing that shows if your business is thriving or not is revenue. Are you really making money, right? Even if you like raise $100 million, if you're not making money, you finish that money one day and then you shut down. But to know if your business is viable or not is the fact that are you making money? I was at the VIP section at the Startup Expo organized by TechPoint, and I liked what Odu said, where she said, start charging from day one, because that way you know you're making money immediately, right? Yes, there are different kind of business model. There's the freemium, where you have some people there for free and then you upsell the other people and then you make money from those people, right? But if you're not making money and you just give your product out for free, right, then you're not in business, because at the end of the day, you're not making money. So yeah, the thing I like more about selling is making money, and also the high growth potential in it, right? If you really put yourself into it, especially the fact that, yes, a lot of people get into sales. I know a lot of people that I started this journey with, they've chosen other career paths. They are doing well in those career paths, but they have left selling, right? So if it's a profession that you say is something you want to do and you give your best to it, you will grow very, very fast, right? So yeah, those two things.
Yeah, what you said now kind of reminds me of something I saw some months back. So the CEO of a US company, Cloudflare, released like a statement. Wanted to say they're laying off majority of their salespeople and hiring new people. And it was like, their product is so good that the salespeople, they are barely doing anything. So, does like how good a product is, does it cancel out the need for salespeople or the need for top line salespeople?
Well, a good product helps you, because if the product is good, right, it helps you to sell better, right? But the myth or the conception that the product is so good it can sell itself. If it was so good, why are you calling salespeople? Why are you bringing them in? Then do some marketing and let the product sell itself, right? Especially if it's a B2B product. The human interaction is very, very necessary. And just like I said, especially if it's business to business, if it's B2B, before someone buys your product, a lot of times for their company, they want to have a human interaction with your company, right? It's very, very necessary, right? And that's what you need your salespeople for, right? I won't be shocked if someone digs deep, say some 6 months or 1 year from now, they will still discover that the new salespeople that they brought in is not doing as well as he would have wanted. There are other things he could have considered, right? It might not be that, are you enumerating them well? Are you training them? In this climate, people don't train people, right? Any training you get it yourself, right? Are you training them? Are you putting the right conditions for them to really excel? A good product, yes, helps you. If I'm selling a product that does exactly what it says it will do, and we have very good customer service, it boosts my confidence. It helps me to walk up to anybody and speak about our product. It helps me to talk about our product with a little pride off my shoulder, saying that, man, this thing is really, really good, right? I was at Tech Point event, and a client, a letterback client, met me there, and she was talking about something that happened, a little hiccup that happened, and these hiccups happen for every product, right? You can't have customers that you satisfy everybody, right? There will be some problems here and there. And the first question I asked, I said, does it work? And Precious was there, and the person said, yes, it does. It does. It works very, very well. And that was it. Very good product.
That was a very interesting conversation. And if I wasn't careful, I would have thought of considering a career in sales. But I don't think it's for me. He will have to do a lot of convincing. But that was Chris Anaele, and I'm sure you've learned a thing or two from his experience and the lessons he has learned as a sales manager. And if you're considering a career in sales, you can pick lessons from here. I'm open to receive feedback from you, and if you have anyone you would want to see on this series, kindly recommend them in the comment section, or you can send me an email at oluwanifemi@techpoint.africa. And that's all for this week. See you in the next one.